We are about to look into the pages of the first continuous recorded history of mankind in the book we call the Holy Bible. We're going to investigate some of its most controversial stories and discover the answers to some very tough questions. Is the Bible a reliable account of miraculous interventions that rescue people from sudden doom and destruction? Or is it merely a collection of legends and myths, as some modern-day critics claim? Leading experts, both Bible skeptics and proponents from throughout the world, have contributed to the discussion of these biblical questions that may shock and surprise you. Around 1300 BC, the Israelites finally found some measure of prosperity by tending their farms and flocks. But the neighboring Philistines discover them to be easy targets for acts of oppression and unfair taxes. According to the Bible, an Israelite judge named Samson, a man of great strength, destroyed the ruling class of the Philistines. Is this story true? Is there any proof that such a person of great strength existed? Did Samson cause the destruction of a large temple and all its occupants?
First, there is not one hint of historical evidence that Samson or Delilah ever existed. Secondly, the tremendous feats attributed to Samson are so bizarre that any intelligent reader will recognize this story as nothing more than a myth or a fable.
The feats that Samson performed are well within human capability. There are many demonstrations of strength performed by modern strongmen that could well rival Samson.
Research has shown that the story of Samson and Delilah has no basis in reality. The name Samson is not Hebrew and is directly traceable to a Canaanite sun god who is superhumanly strong. This story of Samson and Delilah is an old pagan legend dressed up in biblical trappings.
The name Shimson or Samson is derived from the Hebrew word shemish, which means sun or brightness. The name Samson is not uncommon, as it's found in the Ugaritic texts as early as 1500 BC, hundreds of years before Samson.
What is it about the story of Samson and Delilah that stirs the critics so relentlessly in their questioning and makes the Bible defenders so rock hard in their defense? Let's begin our examination by looking at the story itself. Starting at chapter 13 in the book of Judges, we find the tragic story of Samson's life, a man with a great gift from God, but a life squandered in lust and vengeance. Samson was the last of the major judges over Israel around 1100 BC. This man with superhuman strength was dedicated by his parents to live his life as a Nazirite. As a part of this religious vow, he was never to cut his hair, consume alcoholic drinks, or touch any dead corpse. Although a Nazirite, Samson did not live a devoted life, breaking most of the Nazirite vows except for the cutting of his hair. He was a headstrong young man with little or no self-control. Many of his major clashes with the Philistines were over women and personal matters that often served Israel's larger goal of containing the Philistine expansion. Samson's feats of strength made him a living legend, and as a warrior, he was incomparable. After the conquest of Canaan under Joshua, the Israelites spread over the land, and for 200 years, they became farmers and shepherds. But their powerful neighbor was Philistia, who found the scattered Israelites easy targets for taxation, oppression, and land confiscation. The heavy hand of the Philistines was everywhere, but the people were not without hope. Samson was there, helping his people, the strongest man in the world, and a feared and hated enemy of the Philistines. Samson's hit-and-run tactics had frustrated the Philistine army completely. The Supreme Council had to find another way to neutralize the Hebrews.
Samson. I grow weary of hearing that name. Just exactly who or what is he?
A Hebrew strongman, but more importantly, a Hebrew judge. The Hebrews believed their God appointed him. that he is divinely guided in his judgments and his attacks against us.
Are you telling me that one man is the reason our taxes and work levies are not being met? What's the army doing?
If we send out a great force, they come back spent and hungry from chasing shadows in the Judean hills. A lighter commands, he attacks from ambush and slaughters them.
I would like to meet this strong man of the Hebrews. Make a truce, General. Arrange it.
Samson is an outrageous character in a biblical morality play. There's not one piece of archaeological evidence that the Samson and Delilah story ever happened, or that the biblical towns mentioned in reference to this story ever existed.
Archaeological investigations in southern Palestine have identified 4 of the 5 primary Philistine cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, and Ekron. Only the location of Gath is unsure. Zorah, the birthplace of Samson, and Timnah in the plain of Sorek, the home of Delilah, also have been identified. Our excavation at Timnah, which began 15 years ago, has exposed 12 occupational layers. Timnah was built and destroyed repeatedly during its 1400 years of history. The period of Samson and Delilah is identified with the Philistine expansion into the Sorek plain, probably from Ekron, only 4 miles to the west. On the destruction debris of a large, wealthy Canaanite house, possibly the home of the local king, we exposed evidence of the Philistine arrival. A replastered floor contained this distinctive Philistine pottery. Our excavation exposed the Philistine town with its pottery, beer jugs, and an official stamped seal, all coming from the period when Samson walked the streets of Timnah.
The Samson story is just a long string of unbelievable yarns about his supposedly supernatural strength. He tore a lion apart with his bare hands, but then so did Hercules. The ability to kill ferocious animals barehandedly was characteristic of almost all heroes in the strongman myths of ancient times.
There are many well-documented feats of strongmen on record. There are thousands of modern accounts of even ordinary people performing superhuman feats of strength. Many circuses around the world feature tumbling acts where the bottom man supports the weight of 6 or more people, often between 1,200 and 1,500 pounds. And in karate, there are a great number of experts who can break concrete blocks, even destroy buildings.
Even though Samson was a strongman hero, the Bible tells us he was also an impulsive, arrogant, and vengeful individual, often pulling deadly practical jokes on the Philistines. Although the Bible is clear on the events surrounding Samson's life, we can only speculate on how the dramatics of the Samson and Delilah story unfold. The Philistine general found it deceptively easy to arrange a truce so the council leader could meet his avowed enemy, Samson.
The Hebrew strongman approaches, my lord.
Why, then welcome him, General.
I thought you'd be a much bigger man. But this helps, eh? It has weight. This famous Philistine shield that no sword may dent, no spear may pierce.
You may be a strong man, Samson, but how many spears can you survive should I call my men?
Did you think I would trust your honor? Did you bring me here to play games?
To make a peace, Samson.
So you can have more time to set your tax collectors on us.
A peace with honor.
Our people want nothing more than to be left alone. And until the Philistines stop pressing us under their thumbs, there can be no peace.
My hate for that barbarian makes my teeth ache.
Of course. But hate creatively. When the time comes, revenge will be all the sweeter.
We must find his weakness.
If Samson really ever existed, he would have been a minor inconvenience to the Philistines. One man would not have made much difference, either in a political sense or a military one.
The history of the human race is full of incidents where one man impacted society massively. Alexander, Napoleon, Hitler. Samson probably was the Philistines' biggest problem at that time.
Judges 15:15 clearly says that Samson killed 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. But according to the mythology of other nations of biblical times, Hercules and other strongman heroes did similar feats, defeating entire armies and such like single-handedly. Now, if Samson had killed 20 or even 10 of 1,000 men rushing to overwhelm him, that would have been remarkable enough, but the whole 1,000 is just too ridiculous to believe.
The Hebrew word eleph was mistranslated as 1,000. In the time of Samson, an eleph meant a number between 20 and 30.
First, Samson was a man of abnormal strength. Secondly, the jawbone of a donkey is a formidable weapon in the hands of a determined man. And if the misconstrued term eleph is correctly used, Samson killed 20-some of the despised Philistine soldiers, a considerable feat, but not an impossible or even an improbable one. The battle is a matter of historical record, and even today, this battlefield is still called Remeth Levi, meaning the wielding of the jawbone.
There's strong biblical evidence that indicates Samson became a familiar figure in the Philistine cities such as Timnah, drinking and partying. It is speculated that he was often a celebrity guest in the homes of the rich and the powerful, where the story took a most fateful turn. From the moment that Samson first saw Delilah, he was captivated.
Lord Samson, may I present my niece and ward Delilah from Sorek Valley?
It was a meeting that impressed the council's agents.
The introduction of Delilah into the Samson story is a typical soap opera device. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a femme fatale shows up. Even her name is questionable. More than likely, the name was concocted by the pre-scribes who wrote these yarns.
While Delilah is neither a Hebrew nor Philistine name, it is definitely Semitic, probably Canaanite in origin, perhaps from Tyre or Sidon. This name Delilah has different meanings, one being with long hair hanging down.
And you say he was smitten with the niece of Califax?
I was talking with Samson and saw it myself. A sizzling spark leapt between them, my lord.
Is it possible? Could it be that simple? How very marvelous.
Samson and Delilah continued to encounter each other as they went about their daily business, in the market, at the bazaar, and at stock auctions. Everywhere that Samson went, Delilah seemed to be there too.
I pardon your lady. Seems we keep bumping into one another.
Well, that seems to be your nature, almighty man of the Hebrews.
Samson soon became a constant visitor, and his flirtation with Delilah quickly became a fiery love.
She's made it, I think.
Delilah.
As the days passed into weeks, the love of Samson and Delilah deepened, while the Philistine lords watched and waited for the right moment to put their sinister plan into action.
I cannot believe this. You, princes of Philistia, noble and high-minded gentlemen, you ask me to betray the man I love? Get
Permit me to
out.
talk to the Lady Delilah alone, gentlemen. We are alone now. There is no need for theatrics. I know your past quite well, my lady. I know you are fond of living beyond your means.
The lofty Aristides, a trader in the gossip of old hags.
Your father died an honorable man, but a poor one. Califax will provide a roof and food, but alas, no dowry.
You seem very concerned about my future, Lord Aristides.
Myself and the other 4 members of the council are prepared to reward your valuable services to the state with 1,100 shekels of silver each.
5,500 shekels of silver.
A fortune. You would be a wealthy woman, an independent woman.
But I love him.
You are infatuated for the time being. Infatuations pass, as you know better than most.
I cannot betray him to his death.
His death? That is the last thing I would want.
Oh, then what do you want of him?
The secret of his strength. He has long been a menace to the nation. I want him weak and imprisoned as an example to these troublesome people.
It is still betrayal. I am of honorable family.
Love and honor are only words, abstractions. Money is real. You can hold it, feel it, buy comfort and luxury. Who would be poor rather than rich?
I will not be poor.
Of course. You are a practical woman.
If I know it meant Samson's death, I could not do it.
May Dagon strike me dead if Samson dies because of me. On my oath.
The Bible does not clearly indicate why Delilah might betray Samson, but the oral legends of the Jews say it was greed. The temptation of a fortune was just too great for her to resist.
From a historical viewpoint, the 5,500 pieces of silver the Philistines offered Delilah as a bribe is really difficult to believe. Nowhere else in the Bible is such a vast amount of money offered for betrayal. Compare the meager 30 pieces of silver that was offered to Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus.
The pieces of silver of the Old Testament period, such as in Samson's time, were actually lumps of silver like this one. Although they were not coins, they were called shekels. These shekels were used for trade and barter throughout the Mediterranean world. 5,500 of these would have weighed about 150 pounds, probably worth about $10,000, a vast sum when considering their pre-inflationary value. This was indeed a vast fortune, suggesting that Samson was now regarded as a national menace.
The lady has been bought and well rehearsed. Samson will arrive at Zork in 3 days, and she will deliver him to us. This time we will put a collar on this Hebrew bear once and for all. This I promise you.
As a Nazirite, Samson could not drink wine, but at the time, the Philistines were importing a fermented milk from the land of the Hittites that was a powerful intoxicant. All day long, Delilah tried to pry the secret of his strength from Samson, while the Philistines lay in wait for her signal.
We have been here for hours, and now the sun is going down. 3 times he has tricked her, and she raised the cry falsely. And we were almost discovered. Are you sure that we can trust her?
Patience, Aphrion. Greed is the most dependable of all human passions, and Delilah is a very passionate woman.
For days, Delilah kept pestering Samson to tell her the secret of his strength. Perhaps she even used the fermented milk to help loosen his tongue.
Only God and I know that, Delilah. Are you sure this is only scented milk? You know my vow with God forbids me wine.
I swear, it is not wine. Do you love me, Samson?
Enough. Come into my arms.
I will give you just this one more chance. And if you do not tell me what makes you so strong, I will know you really do not love me. And I will go far away from here and never come back.
It's my hair.
Your hair?
Apparently, Samson's allowing his hair to be cut was the deciding factor in the breaking of his Nazirite vow with God. The Bible tells us that the Lord departed from Samson.
What have you done with Delilah?
She's gone away to seek a new life. A much happier and far richer life, I might add.
You lie! Coward! She loves me!
She sold you out for money, you witless hulk.
I despise your face, Philistine.
How ironic, Hebrew, that I'm the last man you'll ever see. And now we have a living ruin instead of a dead hero, Afrion. Blind men are pitiful, you see. Hideous, even disgusting. But never, never heroic.
Once again, the Philistines swarmed over the land like locusts. As the Hebrew nation lay crushed, Philistia prospered and grew rich. The Bible says that the blinded Samson was shackled and set to grinding grain in the prison mill house, where the public could witness his disgrace and misery.
Grinding grain for the king and nobles was a typical prison labor program in ancient cultures. Samson would have sat on the ground along with other prisoners with a mortar and hand pestle for grinding grain. This mortar and pestle from a grinding house in biblical Succoth is exactly like those Samson would have used.
In the spring, the Feast of Dagon drew visitors from every city and village in the empire. On the day of the high festival, the leaders of Gaza were delighted with the spectacle that they had arranged in Dagon's honor.
Nobles, priests, merchants, townsmen of Gaza, Philistines all, on this holiest day, I think it is fitting that we first bring forth the creature who dared raise his hand against our nation and our great god Dagon. Look now on the Hebrew Samson. Hail, mighty Samson, judge of the great Hebrew race. On this feast day, welcome to Dagon's temple.
Tell me, Lord, are you the only one of importance here?
Even the very roof is full of citizenry. The flower of Philistia's noblest families are arrayed before you, including the governor of Ashkelon and his devoted wife, Delilah.
And do I stand in the place of judgment between the great pillars of Dagon?
If you reach out, you can touch them. We are going to have some sport of you now, if you are through with your questions.
Just one. You still have eyes. Can they see any changes the Lord God has made in me?
His hair, you fools! His hair's grown back!
For my sins, Lord God, forgive me. And only this once give me the strength that I may be avenged from my 2 eyes upon my enemies.
These stone temples were meant to last through the ages. The pillars of these temples were engineered to carry tons of weight from the roof. It would have taken thousands of pounds of horsepower to pull one of these pillars from under its load. The idea of one man, Samson, doing it is totally unbelievable.